The last and the most amazing principle of game design, which is least understood, is called flow. Now, what is flow? Guys, can somebody tell me what is flow? Just go out without obstructions. Okay. Steps, fair enough. ठीक है. Steps to reach a new goal, fair enough. ठीक है. So, flow is a state of mind. There is a very nice book called Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. It is an amazing state, right? It's a two-year state of mind. Yes, Tanuj, makes sense, right? So there are like 5, 6 things which are really important for building flow. The first is flow is intense, right? And consistently focused on the present. कि मुझे अभी क्या करना है? What is the next step that I want to do in the product? Right? That's one. Second, flow is so absorbing that you don't worry about the past and the future. कि पहले क्या हुआ था, बाद में क्या हुआ था, मुझे घंटा फर्क नहीं पड़ता. I don't care. Right? Third, flow is so demanding that essentially you don't care about what others say while you are in it. Right? Fourth, flow is so easy that you always get to know what is next. Right? Fifth, flow is so powerful that you lose track of time. कि यार कि मैं ये कर रहा हूं. Sixth, flow is so rewarding that these activities build intrinsic motivation. I'll repeat, there are 6 fundamental definitions of flow. What is the state of flow? The first, flow is so intense that it's always focused on the present. Second, flow is so absorbing that you don't worry about the past and the future and whatever it is. Flow is so demanding that you don't care about what others say. Flow is so easy that you always get to know what is next. Flow is so powerful that you lose track of time. You might spend hours, you might spend minutes, you might spend seconds, right? Flow is so rewarding that it builds intrinsically motivating. शुक्रिया भाई, शुक्रिया, बहुत बहुत बढ़िया. Shravan is equal to flow. बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत right. Absolutely. So that is the definition. Now, conditions for flow. How do you condition? What are the conditions in the product that build flow? Right. The first, the customer should always know what to do next. Second, the customer should always know how to do it. Third, the customer should always be free of distractions. Fourth, it should always give clear and immediate feedback. Fifth, it should always merge high perceived skill with high perceived challenge. I'll repeat. Conditions for flow. The first definition was what is flow. Now, if you have to build those conditions in your product, there are 5 things that you need to solve for, right? You must always know what to do next. Second, you should always know how to do it. Third, it is free from distractions. Fourth, it's clear and immediate feedback. Fifth, high perceived skill versus high perceived challenge. I'll explain, right? So tell me how many of you have used this app called Duolingo? Sahil, I'm sharing an example of flow, but tabhi bata raha hu. So how many of you have heard this app called Duolingo, where you essentially learn languages? I think everybody knows, right? Everybody knows. I am pretty sure most of the people would have heard of it. Awesome, right? So the first thing that they do, you always are in like a timeline, right? You always know what's your next step. So you know what the next exercise. You always know how to do it because it's just clicking the next button and you essentially reach there. You're always free from distractions because it covers the entire page, and the only thing that you see on the page, or you see the Google search, right? The only thing that you essentially know is that this is free from distraction. There is nothing else on the page. So it's free from. While you give a right or wrong answer, it gives you clear and actionable feedback that you're wrong or you're right. And fifth, while you are growing, right, Duolingo automatically tries to increase your skill based on measuring your skill, making it directly perceived to your perceived challenge. And it does that. And you build a game of flow. That is why Duolingo is one of the most successful product companies. They have built it in such a way that they have just identified all conditions of flow. Apple does that, right? Apple does that. Duolingo does that. So many companies do that, right? Because these are principles of game design, right? So they built a condition for flow. Now you see this right side, this image, right? So on the y-axis, there is the quality of challenge, right? On the x-axis, there is quality of skill. That if your skill is low, like you are not also skilled, and the challenge is also low, then it leads to apathy. Apathy is you don't care, right? If the challenge is high and your skill is low, it leads to worry. Like you guys, you are saying that, okay, am I really good to become a product manager? Have I put that much effort? And if the challenge is high because the jobs are less and the good companies are hiring very specific kind of product managers, it leads to worry. If the challenge is very high, कि यार मेरा तो गूगल में नहीं हो सकता, right, and your skill is very low, then it leads to anxiety, right? Now if your skill slightly improves and your challenge is low, right, it leads to boredom, कि यार कि I am really good, why am I solving an Excel sheet, right? Then if your skill is medium and your challenge is also medium, it probably leads to a state of arousal or whatever, or boredom, or whatever you want to put across. If your skill is high, right, and your skill is medium, it leads to arousal. What I mean by arousal is not like the sexual arousal. I am talking about arousal in general. Arousal basically means the passion to essentially solve it, right? Last is, if your skill is also high and your challenge is also high, it builds the state of flow. Makes sense? Because if the skill is low, if the challenge is low and your skill is very high, then it's relaxation, right? Then it's relaxation. कि अगर मैं तुम्हें कोई ऐसा काम देता हूं and you're like really good at it, like for example, if I tell Anirudh to write me a script to probably send WhatsApp messages, ये 1 घंटे में लिख देगा मेरे लिए यार. Anirudh is a coder, he'll write it for me in 1 hour. That's not a state of flow. But tomorrow, if I tell him that write me a script which sends personalized messages based on GPT based training, so that Shravan can send individual kind of messages and automate it across based on the person's query, that is a high challenge. And that will build a state of flow. I guess all of you guys have essentially understood what I'm trying to put across. Conditions for flow, right? You must always know what to do next. Whenever you open the app based on your location, should the bot book you a ride, or based on your previous tip recommend you payment using coins, right? Ki, is there like a coin, just the bot says this is the next step that you have to do, there's nothing else you have to do, right? Always know how to do it. Reaching the payment page, and should the bot show you how to make a payment, or should the options be there which are easy to how to send a link to someone who can essentially make the payment from you? Probably that's a condition for flow. Free from distractions. Always, we don't show anything to make but to make this step, that basically make a payment or book a ride. Fourth, clear and immediate feedback. Once this is done, give immediate feedback using a stepped approach or a status bar. Duolingo shows a status bar. Can I also show a status bar which can give immediate feedback that okay, this step is accomplished? And fifth, right, this is the most interesting part. If I know there is a customer who has taken tons of rides, right, should I give him a ride which essentially tells him that take this bike, this might is slightly far, but you will be able to explore 5 different locations which are like easily accessible from there, and that is a skill, that's a challenge for them. Okay, I might have to walk 10 minutes, but I will essentially explore more locations and gain more points and keep discovering more locations. So can I do that? So I will not do it for an entry-level user. I'll not do it for maybe Manik, who has just started taking a ride. I will probably do it for someone who is a seasoned tourist, for whom I have data and say that this guy already takes a lot of rides, but a lot of times he's not getting those points so that he can add more value, or he's not exploring a lot of places. So can I increase the flow quotient or map his skill to a high perceived challenge, which essentially means that good products, essentially, if you are at a high skill, try to put those activities as, or the next booking would happen in such a way which has high perceived challenge. What I mean by high perceived challenge is that if you've thought the booking should happen in two minutes, that should happen. But I am telling him that do this booking, and probably you might have to walk 10 minutes to get that bike. But after getting that bike, you will be able to explore 5 different locations, which a bike which you will get in 1 minute will not allow you to do that. The next 3 principles of game design: make the next decision obvious. Second, give clear and actionable feedback and make it obvious, right? Third, make a map of high challenge and perceived skill. Understanding skill is based on the usage of the app. So we learned about 7 principles of game design. I'll repeat, I'll go back again. First, goals are objective, achievable, and rewarding. Objective means numerical, achievable, which you essentially means can be done, probably by giving them onboarding flows or whatever. And third is, after they achieve that, they should feel like a reward. Wow, man, this is amazing, right? Second, can you tie the user needs to emotions and say that I want to invoke this emotion into the user while they're using this experience? That's second. Third, create rapid and robust controls. People should not be able to make such choices which were not deliberate, right? Third. Fourth, that we play with toys, but we play games. How can you build solutions which are more toy like, right? So that people enjoy those experiences while experiencing those emotions. Fifth, there has to be a feeling of flow. What is flow? Flow is the state in which there is intense focus, there is no worry about the past and future. It is also, you don't worry about what people say. Fourth, it is easy to do what is always next. Fifth, it is very powerful that we lose the track of time. Sixth, it is very rewarding and intrinsically motivating, right? Conditions for flow: you always know what to do next. Second, always know how to do it. Third, free from distractions, clear and immediate feedback, high perceived skill versus high perceived challenge, right? Conditions for flow, we've talked about it. And the last three principle is make the next decision obvious. Second, give clear and actionable feedback. Third, make a map of high challenge and perceived skill, and based on that, how do you design the experience? And that is how you build essential growth. And this is where I kind of want to stop, right? I just want to and I'll just take some questions here. How to find out that user that has not reached the flow situation? You can that's what I'm trying to put across. You have to build a hypothesis and you have to consistently measure it. But if you don't look at these principles in the first place, you will never get the ideas that how do I build a hypothesis which builds flow. And then you essentially do the same thing. It's like building an MVP. You can never build an app in the first go. It's not like you can just do development for 3 years and say I am amazing and this is the first version, this builds flow. It doesn't work like that. All I'm saying is, while you're thinking about the principles of game design, keep this in mind, that I need to enter into a state of flow. Okay? Acha. Then how do you know that you're not overdoing it? So again, that's when you're building an MVP or a hypothesis, whatever user research that you've done, initially you keep it simple, right? Initially, the value has to be delivered in a very simple way. If people are not using it, then essentially we change our hypothesis. But if you keep these principles accountable, the one thing that you're trying to ensure in a product is that how do I build intrinsic motivation? How do I build intrinsic motivation? Okay? Then that is what Byju's has been doing, making education fun. Yes, ideally that was, at least when I used to work there, that was the case. यहां पे मैं अपना लेक्चर, और आज का हमारा असाइनमेंट भी वही है, सेम असाइनमेंट करना है. Build a bathroom for the blind, but using principles of game design. And I want to understand how do you apply these things. And if you do that, this is going to be fun. Trust me, Joel. देखो, मैं सबके assignment show नहीं कर पाता. That is correct. But I am reading everybody's assignments. And trust me, the people who are doing it, they will essentially love it. Assignment आपको भेजना है shravantikku23@gmail.com. Mayank Parashar is saying this would be more coming in growth stage. Maybe at an... No. It's not necessary. It is always good to do it also at an MVP stage. See, I understand that this is hard. This is not easy to do, right? But I wanted you to think about that good products are great at the product layer itself. So there are two layers, something called product layer, something called service layer. Duolingo teaches you content. That's their service layer proposition, that I'm teaching you content. But the way that they've built on the product layer gives you the definition of flow. I am talking about, as product managers, you always play at the product layer. You always also play at the service layer. But service layer is controlled by a lot of factors, maybe content, maybe sales, maybe curriculum, maybe whatever, ABCD, right? But product layer has to be built from the thought of flow, right? So, guys, यहां पे मैं अपना लेक्चर आज खत्म करता हूं. प्लीज जिन्होंने वीडियो लाइक नहीं किया, प्लीज लाइक कर दो. आई होप आप सबको मजा आया. दिस वाज अ न्यू थिंग दैट आई ट्राइड, right? I tried to merge some concepts of game design. I tried to put it across. I hope all of you loved it. Please give me feedback. Please give comments. Please do LinkedIn posts. Please keep doing your assignments. You'll essentially learn a lot of things. Awesome, guys. Chalo, see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.